in our community. All students, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Fellow Rotarians, I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Strong servers. Our speaker today is going to be talking about the former tuberculosis hospital in Livermore, and it was quite a structure. It was here from the 1920s through the 1950s, and somebody is saying that a good cure. Extraordinarily awesome assumptions. And now, for the day, are you here? Hi, everybody. Hey, Greg. So, service and kindness are often related. The service we show kindness, and because of kindness we give service. Doing these acts of unselfish help those who come after us. This person, William Allen Droom Gould, lived 1860 to 1934, writer and poet, illustrates how service helps those who follow. The bridge builder, an old man going a lone highway, came at the evening, cold and gray, to a chasm vast and wide and steep. With water rolling cold and deep, the old man crossed in the twilight dim. The sullen stream had no fear for him. But he turned when safe on the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. The old man said, a fellow pilgrim near, you are wasting your strength with building here. Your journey will end with the ending day. You never again will pass this way. You've crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build you this bridge at eventide? The builder lifted his old gray head. Good friend, in the path I have come, he said, there follows after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. The chasm that was as naught to me, to the fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Good friends, I am building the bridge for him. Thanks. Everyone know, a neighbor of mine has some wonderful photos out in the middle corridor, Jeff Mason from Test Road. So if you got a minute on your way out, take a look at the photos.
Great, thanks guys. So leading front lines for reporter, double duty, right? Wendy Stanford, Earth Stars photographer, audiovisual, really here today, Don Wentz, getting everything squared away. Reader, Marion and Rosa, and more frontline. Here we go.
Next page.
There we go. Now, amazing. Rotary, Sergeant at Arms, would you please stand? Left Chieftain, is Kathy here today? Okay, Kelly Bowers, Public Outreach. Kelly here? Okay, moving on to Tim Berry, our videographer for today. Tim, and introduction to visiting Rotarians and guests. Do we have any visiting Rotarians today? Well, it seems pretty flat. Okay. Next. Guests of Rotarians. Thanks. We have a microphone over there.
Fellow Rotarians and President, this is my daughter, Stella Lusty. She's thrilled to be here with me. I did her personal phone. She's here under the rest. And she's going to be a sophomore this year at LHS.
Wonderful. Announcements. Paul Thompson, Mike Thompson.
What?
Wait, hold it.
I'll do it.
On a sequence here, we've got Don Sweeney.
So one of the things that impresses me about our club is we have a lot of retired people, but we have a lot of important people who are very busy. And so one of those busy people who's able to give us this time is Matt Fuzzi, who is the managing director of LARPD, and I'd like to invite Mark up, who is that sponsor. And Mark?
Well, you know, you have to be retired to be in this club, so we did some background on that and found out he actually is retired. You know, he worked for the state of California for 37 years and retired, and then went home and figured out, oh no, this isn't good. And so, service above self includes giving back of your time and talent, and LARPD has been the beneficiary of that. I watched that from afar as a city manager at how he methodically improved LARPD with his time and talent, and now working part-time for Matt. He is all that I observed him to be, a wonderful manager and a quite an involved Rotarian, looking for opportunities where Rotary and LARPD can do good in the community. And the spot where we sit right here is an example of that. Because of the partnership between the two entities, we don't have to spend much of our fundraising paying for this room. That means we can give more back to the community, and we have. So, Matt, as your sponsor, I thought you'd be a fantastic Rotarian, and you have breezed through the red badge requirements in under 5 years. So it is truly an honor and a privilege to give you a Rotary badge with your name emblazoned on it.
come up and give your presentation?
Is that
I don't see Bob here today. Should we do it another day?
Yeah, we'll do another day.
Okay, good. And I think President Mark may have some presentations.
It is true. It is true. Don't go anywhere, get out. I'm here on Friday.
Don't go anywhere, go.
Each year, the board of directors of the Eurofine Club makes many decisions that impact you as Rotarians. And one of those decisions that the board makes is who to honor. And honoring someone by the board is important because what it does is it's a statement about the person we are honoring and what the club thinks is important. And so today, I am honored to present, on behalf of the board of the Rotary Club of Livermore, to GALD, essentially the John B. Shirley Exceptional Service Award. The John Shirley Award, who in the room here knows who the first winner of the John Shirley Award was? Ah, and you a young fellow in the front.
Me?
Yes, who was that?
Yeah, well, actually, I've got two things to say.
Yes.
There was a list in our things, in our stuff online about my brother being the first winner, which is correct. And it's got me down as about 5, but my memory says I was the second.
Oh,
But
very
I'm
good.
not sure, I don't want to argue with anybody.
And of course, what the club records show is one more piece is that before the award was called the John Shirley Award, it was called the Exceptional Service Award. It was given just once to John Shirley. And after that, it was known as the John Shirley Award. So you are correct. You were the first winner was not technically John Shirley of the John Shirley Award. He was the reason we named the award that after he won it. And John was a prior mayor, prior council member, prior veterinarian, a member of the club for 4,300 years, so almost since our founding. No, he was a member for over 50 years, and only death separated him from the club. So he is a tremendous example to us all. And GALD, I don't know whether you know this or not, but GALD works tirelessly on raising funds to make the world a better place and helps all of us do that. So GALD, if you, I don't know whether you've ever seen a presentation you've given on money or charts or graphs. So if you haven't, you don't have to wait long because there'll be one coming up soon. And we all laugh, but the answer is we do tremendous good work. And GALD helps us get there. So thank you.
Thank you all for supporting me, and it's a great pleasure to get recognized for something I really love doing. And I really do, and I think I travel about 53 countries. I see an idea about what it is like in the world, and I love to do this job. Thank you very much.
In addition to the Exceptional Service Award, the board chooses the Rotarian of the Year. And if we all see GALD doing his work for Rotary here in a very public way, the next name that I'm going to is somebody who does a lot of this work, and we know that it's being done, but essentially Carol Powell is the Rotarian of the Year. recenter that on the gift of reading. And now a third grader actually gets a book of their choosing off of a short list, which is curated by the teachers in third grade. And every third grader gets a book, and for many of them, it is the first book that they have ever owned. Think about that. Think about that. For those of us where books were part of every day, and we took our 50 cents and took a scholastic book, home in kindergarten, the fact that a child does not have a book to call their own, and that we, with a little sticker in the front, their name spelled properly, and that sometimes with 16 syllables is more than a little bit of work to get perfect for every third grader. That's a lot of hard work, and that's only one of the things that Carol does, along with supporting a wide variety of things in the club. So Carol is our Rotarian of the Year. We will bring her back and embarrass her in person, but I wanted you all to know that today. So, yay.
So we're doing well with the Little League players on Thursday, the 31st, and I appreciate everyone who has donated very generously for our club. And let's see, Alan Vernon is available to say a few words, and how the finances are going. Thank you.
Yeah, so many of you signed a sheet that said you pledge that amount. There's actually 4 ways of giving. You can give cash to me, which is not the preferred way, but I will deposit it. You can give a check, should be made out to the Rotary Club of Livermore, with Little League in the middle. You can donate it by Zelle, or you can do it by a credit card on the club's website. Now, it turns out, yes, Mr. Jay?
Can you give it to the foundation?
No.
Why not?
It's a whole different topic.
It's a, first of all, it's a small amount of money, and the amount of counting effort that takes there is just not worth it. For those of you who are not familiar with the club website, I made a sheet, it's on every table, and it's 4 steps. You go to the club page, you click on contribute, you'll see a box that has 3 things on there. It says Club General Fund. You fill out how much you want to do, your name, and then in the memo, put Little League, because that's the way you'll be sure that it comes to the Little League. And the way the club site is set up is you can do it in $25 increments. Most people have pledged $50. That seems, so in any event, we'd like to get this accomplished in the next week so that we can get the funds off. I think about a third of the people have paid so far, which is pretty good. Which then leads me to just make one final comment. We're about 60% have paid membership. 3 people today told me they did not get an invoice. If you did not get an invoice, let me know, I'll send it again. You get another invoice automatically next month as a post-due invoice. So hopefully we can get all the membership dues in the next month.
Great. Thank you, Alan. Joel, do you have an announcement?
Do I have an announcement?
Yes.
Okay, got a stack.
About the special food funds.
Oh my God, what the heck? Where did you get all those ladies?
Those who know me well know that I like to eat, and we're going to talk about eating next. The thing that's coming up soonest that we need a lot of club members to help out with is the Maryland Avenue Back to School hot dog roast. We got a sign-up sheet here. I'll start it at the corner table over here, goes down the front, goes to the back, goes all on the back tables. We need a lot of folks to help out, and please do sign up for some of the stuff I normally do. We have some emergent medical things happening in the Swanson household, and I'm not going to be able to work on this as much as I have in the past. Yes, sir.
Do we have a date?
August 8th, Friday. It's a Friday, and so we need some legwork the week before to get supplies out of our storage unit. We need people to go shopping at Costco and to get however many hot dogs we need. We'll ask the school secretary how many kids and families will be feeding. So typically it's 600 to 700 hot dog dinners that we'll be putting together on Friday, August 8th. So I'll pass this around. The other food thought is, I like Togo sandwiches. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes you'd like a little change. And we're going to have another potluck August 20th. And I think that'll be one, I've called it summer favorites. So what would be your favorite things to eat during the summer? Sign up for it on the list here. I may bring some pulled pork and buns so you can have pulled pork sandwiches, something like that. But wait, there's more. I thought it would be neat to do once a month some sort of special lunch. And about every 3 months we're doing a potluck. Well, that leaves me 2 months where we could do something else. One would be a pizza day. So basically get a bunch of Costco pizzas and maybe a big tray of salad, and then have pizza for lunch instead of Togos. And then that third month where we don't have a pizza day and we don't have a potluck, we could do something like a catered lunch. Now for that one, people would have to pay $10, $12, something like that. But Mike Thompson has done this for us before, and people really enjoyed it, and it turned out well. So we would need someone to coordinate that. Mike says, it's easy peasy. Restaurants want to sell stuff. So they will be happy to take our money and provide a hot lunch for us on that third month. So we'll need someone to be the pizza king and someone to be the caterer as well. So just let you know that that's in the works. So I'm going to be passing around the Maryland Avenue hot dog barbecue list, and that's the most important to sign up for right now. You have lots of weeks before we have the first potluck of the summer. All right, talk to you later.
Mike Thompson, do you have a quick announcement?
I do, thank you. This year, the golf day is Thursday, September 11th at Wednesday. First tee time will be noon. Just call me or email me if you would like. We've got 16, so I think we have 9 slots left. And we're just running around with people I know that usually want to play. It'll be open to the morning club, and if we should get extra, there's probably a good chance I can get another 4. But anyway, let me know if you can. And just on another note, I want to brag. My oldest grandchild, my granddaughter, who was 30, got married last year, in June, and last month she graduated for her PhD. Beautiful girl, very bright. She's got 4 masters on the way and 2 BScs. Didn't get it from me, but anyway, Cal always inspires me, so I would like to give $1,000 to the International Foundation General Fund.
Thank you very much, Mike. And TJ.
So, 2 weeks ago today, I got a new ride there. And it's perfect, and here I am walking around. In honor of my repair, I would like to give $500 to the repair of the Neville School.
Thank you, TJ. That was very generous. So, next week's program, what's happening at Las Positas College. Dr. Darrell Foster will be our presenter. And let's see if I can get this going. Today's program is Wally Wood. And Wally Wood's speaker liaison, Bill Swanson, will come and say a few words. Thank you, Joel.
So I've known Wally for several years. He lives in the neighborhood, and always see him walking his dog past our house, and we chat about things. But found out he's delving into Livermore history. So just a few biographical. Anyway, so he's a native Californian and a longtime resident of Livermore. He enjoys the byways rather than the highways of this great state. Exploring the crevices of history along the way, he brings to light all but forgotten places and events that enrich our world today. He's the author of several historical fiction books set in Livermore and the area around us. He's a docent out at Sycamore Grove Park and wrote a guide to the wildflowers there. So, my good neighbor and historian, Wally Wood. Come on.
Well, good early afternoon. Mark Twain once said, I want to write my own obituary so I can get in all the facts. He did true. And yes, some of you may recognize me if you go out to Sycamore Grove. I'm usually planted there every Saturday as a docent type person, volunteer. I just love that park. And lived here in Livermore for 35 years. Also, I'm Santa Claus for LARPD. You wouldn't recognize me then. Some of you I do know. Jennifer, I'll be seeing in another month. I trust. But I grew up in a Rotary family. My father was a lifelong Rotarian since the time I can remember, and I know that he just loved the camaraderie of Rotary. It was down in Southern California. And we had every year students, college students, stay at our house through the Rotary Exchange Program. Netherlands, remember Anna Paula Vanderpool from Italy, Henry Mancini was his name. But there were others. And so I just always grew up with his love, and he'd come home and tell us something that happened at Rotary that day. And so I guess a part in his memory, but for Rotary, before I really get started, and if I go too long, I know he'll get fined, so I'll try to keep it short. But,
it's okay, Wally.
One of my kind of favorite stories that he told was, he was a retired teacher, and so we had an avocado grove some distance away from the little town of Vista where I grew up. And so he'd make up meetings. And was a big thing, go to some other town and make up a meeting. So there was this other Rotarian who was the mortician in town, and his name was Gates, Don Gates. But everybody in Rotary called him Curly. So this one day, my father was visiting Rotarian at another town, and so was Curly Gates visiting. So there was a guest book, and they had signed in. Well, Gates had signed in ahead of my father. So my father went to sign in, and he took a note to see what Gates wrote. Wrote, professional boxer. But nobody bid on it. Nobody bid on it. So now I get to tell about a 40 or 50-year-old story with the final thing. He was hoping that somebody would question him about it, but nobody did. But anyway, so Livermore to me is just a fascinating little town. Like I said, I've lived here for 35 years, and there are so many little nooks and crannies that maybe aren't earth-shattering, but are just so fascinating. And so today I want to talk about one of those a little bit, kind of forgotten in our rush to the future here at Livermore. And that is the Arroyo del Valle Sanatorium for the treatment of tuberculosis. Now, some of you, if you grew up here, may have even played in the old buildings and scared each other because it became deserted. And so it was finally demolished, the buildings were. But I find people close to my age that either had brothers or sisters that went and played in the old buildings and scared each other once it was abandoned. But a little background about TB. It's an infectious disease. We still have it today. Every now and then something crops up in the paper about it. Its earliest record is, and they find in Egyptian mummies with tuberculosis, the condition, 3,000 years old. So it's nothing new. But in the 1800s, it had quite an explosion. And in Europe, it accounted for about a quarter of all the deaths in Europe in the 1800s. Many well-known people died from it. To name a few, John Keats, Edgar Allan Poe, Frederick Chopin, Charlotte and Emily Bronte, Dostoevsky, George Orwell, Robert Louis Stevenson, Doc Holliday of the OK Corral fame. And in addition, both President James Monroe and Andrew Jackson died from it, and so did Eleanor Roosevelt. So it was a serious disease. Nobody knew exactly what it was originally or how to treat it until the 1940s. But up till then, there were three things that were commonly noticed: bed rest, dry air, and healthy food. Those were the three things that seemed to give anyone a chance of overcoming the deadly disease. At the height in the USA, there were 839 tuberculosis hospitals with over 136,000 beds. Alameda County opened Arroyo del Valle in 1918, only for the county residents. Now, where it was located, for those of you that don't know, take Arroyo to the very end, past the VA hospital, go back around a curve, and then it ends in another quarter mile at East Bay Regional Parks. Well, as you round that last bend, on the hillside up to your right is where that facility was located. Now you think about 1918 and what Livermore was like, what the roads were like, and you go, why in the world would you put a hospital out there? What was one of the three things? Dry air. The driest place Alameda could find reasonably was that spot. And so that's where they built the hospital. Originally it consisted of 11 buildings. Patients were received in the infirmary building where a primary examination was given. Depending on the condition, the patient had stayed in the infirmary or passed to one of the dormitory rooms. The infirmary consisted of 30 private rooms and 4 5-bed wards. Now this picture is one of the few we've got. This is not going to be a Zillow presentation, trust me. But you can get the feel of the architecture and the style of the buildings, the hospital grounds, from this picture. And looking back at the hills, I'm trying to see, I don't think this shows where the hillside had caved in. But at the back of that, on that side there, it's still notable, just for kind of a landmark spot. So there was a kitchen that was next to the introduction room examination. There was an infirmary, X-ray laboratory, did some surgeries. The kitchen was on each of the 2 floors to serve patients. A service building in between the infirmary and the dormitories, where the food was cooked and sent to the diet kitchens. There was a separate kitchen for the children's building. We'll talk about children's building in a minute. There were 2 dormitories, each with 20-bed wings, and then a separate children's dormitory next to the nurses' dormitory. They called the children's building the farm. Let's see if I can do this right. That's another of the medical buildings. That's the nurses. It says employee building, but that one basically was where the nurses lived that were there. Because think about trying to get back and forth to town on the road in the winter. Del Val's flooded. I'll come back to that one later. This was the children's building. And if you see up here on the 2nd floor, there's some of the children standing and see the beds. Fresh air. Fresh air. And they had the rest of it. So they called it the children's area the farm, and actually had bigger plans for the children's area to actually put orchards and other things there. And they had a 2-room schoolhouse. Much of the farm was paid for with Christmas seals. Remember the good old Christmas seals? Well, the total capacity at Arroyo was about 300 people. Now, who ran it? Dr. Chesley Bush was hired to head the sanatorium in 1919. Dr. Bush was born in San Francisco in 1886. He graduated from the University of California in 1912. He went on to the University of Colorado, where he there contracted TB. He came to the sanatorium in Colfax, California for recovery. He then returned to Colorado and continued his studies for his doctorate degree. He decided to devote his medical efforts to combat TB, so he returned to Colfax, and there he studied the dread disease. He was assistant superintendent there for several years when he was offered the directorship of the new sanatorium in Livermore. He intended to stay only a short time, getting it organized, but his love affair with the area induced him to stay for 30 years. His knowledge and expertise became widely recognized. He was appointed the Executive Secretary of the California TB Association and President of the National TB Association. In 1939, civic-minded, he joined the local Lions Club when it started in 1924. Sorry, Rotary, you came later. He joined the Lions, and he and his wife both were very active in the Presbyterian Church. Dr. Bush knew what medically could be done for patients, including some surgery. A common surgery at the time in severe cases, and excuse me if there's any doctors here, thoracolplasty, I think is the correct pronunciation, which involved removing of several ribs and allowing the infected lung lobe to rest. But more importantly, Dr. Bush understood the need to heal the whole person, not just the body. He initiated multiple programs to improve the condition of the patients. He started getting the patients involved in many activities. They printed a monthly newspaper called Stethoscope, and copies of that are available down at the Old Livermore Library if you're so interested in perusing. They had about 1,200 at the height of the newspaper, about 1,200 paid subscriptions. In 1919, he brought in a movie projector. That was pretty early in the days of movies, but again, he was trying all kinds of things to keep the person's mind and activity level, not just bed rest. He added, in addition to 3 libraries, he had correspondence classes and encouraged patients in all manner of classes, including completing high school, which in those days a lot of people did not have. Industrial training was encouraged, printing, sewing, barbering, wireless radio, among others. In 1924, he had radio receivers installed in the rooms. Besides music, teachers gave courses twice a week. Beautiful baskets were woven and sold. Let me see if I can get back there. This is one of the inside rooms. You can see a lot of the baskets. And then, but this was a general recreation room. He had one in each of the buildings. He had encouraged, for those that could, outdoor working on an extensive truck garden, and later a swimming pool was built. Most patients spent considerable time, an average stay from 6 months to a year. And here is a normal day's activity. Now this was for the children, but it pretty much followed the same pattern for adults. 6:30 all beds changed from pajama, bathrobe, slippers to sun sandals. 6:45, washroom, face, hands, teeth, fingernails. 7 o'clock, take temperature. 7:15, make bed. 7:30, breakfast. 8 to 10 for the children. School and lower grades, flag raising, plate, care for pets, and return to bed. 10 o'clock, milk. 10 to 11, sun treatment, sitting out in the sun, rain or shine. But 11 to 12, school for all grades, play or rest. 12 to 12:15, wash up for lunch. 12 to 12:30, rest in bed. 12:30 to 1, noon meal. 1 to 3, rest period. 3 o'clock, take temperature, swimming, summertime. 3 to 5, school for higher grades, book reading for those in bed. 5 to 5:30, supper. 5:30 to 6:30, care for pets. Club meetings, again this was for the children. Club meetings, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Campfire Girls, Bluebirds, and movie pictures. 6:30, 6:45, prepare for bed. 7 o'clock, prepare for lights out. So you see, he was really interested in the whole person, not just sticking them in a bed and waiting 6 months to see if they got better. He encouraged the mind to work, to give them activities for the adults as well. So he was quite a guy, and at his time, he was a pretty progressive thinker. There was one of the teachers that came for the students for many years. Her name was Alice Kloss, K-L-U-S. And she wrote, quote, fresh air was thought to help the cure. And patients' beds were open porches, as you can see in that other picture. In the winter, school was taught wearing sweaters, galoshes, knitted cap, mittens, a warm coat, overall, and the inevitable face mask. Changed from building to building. Face mask. Seems like a couple of years ago we had a big thing about face masks. So parents were allowed to visit the children only on Sundays. And one of the nurses made a comment about Sunday night, the children were hard to quiet down in his bedroom because the children missed their families, as you can well imagine. It was children of all ages. The Veterans Administration had opened their big hospital in Menlo Park, which was dedicated August 1st, 1923. A little side note, the VA dedicated that when President Warren was to attend but fell ill. He died the next day in San Francisco, and Vice President Calvin Coolidge became president. The veterans, however, even though they built this big hospital over there, what's the issue we need for lungs? Dry air. Where in the whole Bay Area, was the veterans going to find a spot with dry air for all their lung patients? World War I, we had tuberculosis, we had mustard gas, and other lung-related issues. Where were they going to find a spot? And somebody said, go see Dr. Bush out there in Livermore and talk to him about it. So they did. They sent a group, and they arrived at Del Valle Sanatorium, and Dr. Bush showed them Livermore and what he was doing there. He was driving them back to the railroad station, and on the way, he stopped at the next hillside from where he was and showed them how this would make a great facility. The next day, the Veterans Office wrote a check and purchased the land that is the VA Hospital in Livermore. In 1925, the Veterans Hospital was opened. After the ceremony of the opening of the Veterans Hospital in Livermore, Pilot Lindbergh fame, decided to come out and give them a salute. So Charles Lindbergh flew around the building in a ceremonial salute. Upon landing, he was told he'd flown around the Royal Del Valle Sanatorium and not the VA Hospital. So he went back, and it was reported that he really put a show on for the VA. People said the windows rattled and they could just see him just saluting. He flew around the building. Streptomycin was first isolated in October 19, 1943, at the end of World War II. The United States Army experimented with streptomycin to treat life-threatening infections, not just TB, but general. They found it would work for just infections. And so they started at Battle Creek, Michigan. The first person who was treated with streptomycin did not survive. The second survived but became blind as a side effect of the treatment. In March 1946, the third person experienced a rapid, robust recovery. He was Robert J. Dole, later Majority Leader of the United States Senate and presidential nominee. In 1949, streptomycin was first treated at the Del Valle Sanatorium. And the doctor that did it said, this patient's going to die in just a couple of days. What's it going to hurt? She recovered. And soon it was in use widespread. The sanatorium was closed in 1960. The buildings were vacated, and the East Bay Park District acquired the land. The dilapidated buildings were removed, and only the foundations remain today. During its time serving humanity, 10,000 patients were treated through that facility. Sadly, there is no marker or memorial plaque remembering the Royal Del Valle Sanatorium proud service to the county.
Good.
Sure, anybody want to?
Oh, here we go.
Hi. Okay, so I spent a lot of time up there where that facility is, probably when I shouldn't have, but then fast forward as an adult, I volunteered for the Taylor Family Foundation, and so the scene plan is still whole, and a lot of the foundations you can see where the pool was, but I will tell you, East Bay Regional Park did a really great thing because there's still a garage there that's all stone that they saved. And they, I want to say when they first opened Taylor Family Foundation, They did a beautiful job of sharing the history of the sanitarium there. They had some amazing pictures. I don't know if I don't think it's still there, but they did try. It would be nice to see a plaque there.
I got to tell you, the reason that I kind of started writing this was that in mind. It's just lost.
Yeah.
And I'm not an author, never was. This is the book that I've written about a nurse going through this. Was the first thing that I had written like this. And a lady friend of mine, I gave it to her to read, and she insisted. She said, "Let me help you, we'll publish it." So I have a couple of copies here. I'm not here to sell them, but my books are available at the little downtown bookstore. But that was the real thing behind it, was how could this just be lost and nobody know about it?
Well, it's, you know, what's interesting, my grandmother worked there when she was a young girl. She was single, had a baby, and had to keep the baby down in a little woodshed and work up there changing beds. She was born here, she was, let's see, 1897, but she was born in Portugal. But there's probably a lot of other family members here that have relatives that work there.
You're Sylvia, right?
I'm Sheila.
Sheila,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I want to get together with anybody like you afterwards, you know, because I try to get scraps from them. And believe me, I find some interesting stuff out there. I just found Jack Benny did a live program from the Air Station out here in 1944, and you can still listen to it if you want. You can pull it up. But I mean, there's just little tidbits like this, and there's other things too.
Yeah, so just following up, this is on the site that the Taylor Foundation camp is currently?
The Taylor Foundation is a little beyond the edge of where the hospital was.
Okay.
So if you go up Arroyo, you'll cross a bridge, the little bridge after the VA hospital. The road bends around slightly, and you cross the little bridge. Interestingly enough, there's a great plaque dedicating that bridge on the bridge. Fortunately, it's been painted over, or I'm afraid someone would probably try to steal it with the brass. But it's on. So the bridge has been commemorated. The hospital,
Not so much.
nothing. You know, that kind of doubly hurt me. Someone wrote a beautiful thing about the connection with the Taylor Foundation, basically taking over that. They're referred to as the Phoenix rising up, because here was the Children's Hospital that's gone. And here the great Taylor Foundation has risen up in its place. And they've compared it to like the Phoenix rising back up. And I thought, that's a beautiful little illustration.
Just a comment. I recently finished reading a book called Everything is Tuberculosis. It's really good. And one of the facts in the book is that since the beginning of time, tuberculosis has killed more people worldwide than all other diseases.
Wow.
What year was this teacher, Alice Cluse, made that comment?
I don't know.
Because I graduated from Livermore High in 1965, and we had an elderly, I can say that, an elderly math teacher named Alice Cluse.
That was probably the same one.
Amazing.
Because she taught out there, but I think she taught in Livermore as well.
I was having a chat with some people the other day and wondered if they treated polio up there, and everybody was saying no, they didn't. However, John B. Shirley's son, who was one of the miscreants as a kid, going through a broken window, told me that it was all empty except for a rowboat, wooden rowboat in the middle of the hallway, and an iron lung, which he got into. So did they treat polio there?
I don't think so. But see, with the lung disease, like they didn't quite understand everything they needed to try to rehabilitate people. Because it could be any part of your body. Everybody thinks TB lung, and that was the most common. And I had an uncle that died from it back in the 20s. But they tried to, you know, anything you can think of. And if you read through the history of stuff in other countries, you know, and even here in our country, it was absolutely amazing. I didn't realize it, but Southern California, there were just bunches of TB sanatoriums set up. And it was got to the point that the state legislature was actually considering having people check coming into the state and wouldn't let them in. It was a consideration. Never happened, but, because it became a mecca. You know, especially if you think of Southern California, how it was dry. That's where all our water goes, and how dry it was. And that was one of the factors that was thought to be part of the cure, such as cure was. So it's very possible. I've talked to people that grew up here that remember playing up there as kids and scaring each other in the empty buildings and seeing, you know, stretchers and wheelchairs. I never heard anybody say about an iron lung, but I can conceive that that might have been something they tried for somebody because of supporting the lung. Well, let me tell you, folks, there's a lot of little fun facts about Livermore that have escaped us and may not have world-shattering. On the other hand, we do world-shattering things here in Livermore. I've been very happy. I work part-time at the lab and I'm in security, among other things that I do. But, watching the new computer get built, you know, now it's going to start attracting other vendors to the area. I hate to think of us as the new Silicon Valley, but, you know, who knows? But there's other things that happen here that are more fun little facts that just get overlooked too easily. And so my intent was to kind of help bring them to light and to share them, you know, with my fellow Livermoreans.
Well, thank you.
Before we go, we have a tradition here of giving our speakers a bottle of Livermore red wine, white wine, or Crowhair olive oil. Of those two, which would you prefer?
You know, I've thought about the Crowhair, so maybe that would be
great. The mission Crowhair olive oil, which is great.
Okay.
Get that to you right now.
How many wineries do we have in Livermore now? 60. Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Well, thank you.
the presentation. So next week, Daryl Foster will tell us what's happening in Las Positas College. I think this is about a wrap, but we need to know what the ticket study do.
Number?
Read the number. Keith.
President Pat, we do have a number for the drawing.
Great.
And I do want to announce that we have $62 in the pot today. So it is growing quickly.
Good.
So the last four digits, 9535. Who's our winner?
9535. With that, I think it's a wrap. Oh, Don.
Make sure everybody knows where the Del Bell is. Oh.
Thank you, Don. We're at Del Bell Winery next week's meeting. There we go. Evening meeting.